hello, darling, and welcome to the Just Jax podcast. Hi, I'm Jax, and I help you find the can in your cat. When we challenge our cats, miracles happen, because when I challenged mine of I can't draw, I can't paint, and I can't color, imagine my surprise when I discovered what I can do is create a 21-foot garden mural that was recently featured not once but twice on the front page of our local newspaper. Next up, I challenge the I'm no author, no artist, and no cursive writing specialist, but what I can do is self-publish 3 books for my kick-ass cursive writing curriculum, Crack the Cursive Code. I'm a jack of all trades, but what I master in is helping ordinary people like me to do extraordinary things through laughter, tears, life-changing stories, because metaphors are my jam. Together we can find the can in your can'ts, the do's in your don'ts, and the wills in your won'ts. I'm so excited for you. Let's go. Well, hello, and welcome to another Just Jax episode, and thank you for taking your precious time and spending it with me. This is part 2 in the 3-part series of the powerful 3 little 3-letter words. In the first episode, we set the stage with the first 3-letter word, and that was H-U-H. That moment in time, that small pause is where a spark is lit that can be the start of the change that you desire and I desire. And as Einstein put it, you cannot solve your problems with the thinking that created it, meaning that your life right now is a perfect representation of how you see the world, good and bad. And in order for that to change, your thinking and mine must change first. A seed must be planted for something new to grow. Is placing the seed in the ground. It sits there in the dark for as long as it takes for the magic of life to happen. Once the spark of life happens, things get busy for the seed. And this is the perfect segue for the next little 3-letter word, and that word is can. Now, but first, I want to start this podcast with a wee small little disclaimer because I'm going to use a Bible study for a Bible study. Where the fuck did that go? No. A Bible story for this podcast. And if that triggers you, obviously had me trip over just even saying it. Believe me, I'm right there with you. I have a very, how should I say, checkered past with organized religion and have walked away from it as gracefully as you can from a nuclear disaster. Yep. Traumatic life experiences like that just make awesome material for future podcast episodes. I use these stories because I am a metaphor queen and I absolutely love them. And some of the stories and parables that are in that book just kick ass and they really represent what I'm talking about. Some of you may have heard of this. If any of you have ever gone into any kind of Bible school, or they talk about David and Goliath, and that's the story that we're going to talk about today because it's really a story about overcoming odds and the real power of the word can. So let's set the stage of this Bible story. David was a small, slight man. He and was a shepherd. He gets sent by his father to go check up on his brothers because David's been in the fields with his animals all this time. A strong shepherd, but he was a shepherd nonetheless. And Goliath was a very massive man. He was called a giant. And he was the one to beat. David was short and Goliath was super tall, and Goliath was covered in armor, like head to toe, and a giant that size and how much armor he carried, he was a massive force. And David just wore animal skins and this is where you find out how small David was, is because the king offered to dress him in armor to protect him. And David refused. So there's another part of it when you have a mission and you have a motto, a path in which you choose. Sometimes people will try to put what works for them on you, and it's not going to fit because it was never meant for you, and you need to find what fits you and take that into battle. So the giant said that if you could beat me, you defeat the entire army. A one-shot deal. He called out and called out and called out. It was just crickets. 40 days went by and no one stepped up. David's brothers were in the army and they were all frozen, too scared to fight. David hears the taunts of the giants. He just looked at the man. He goes like, who the fuck is this asshole talking about my God like that? And David just got super fired up. And he steps up and he says, he will fight the giant. Everyone is completely dumbfounded and thinks he's crazy. Even his brother thinks that he's an idiot, and they tell him so. Like, you're gonna die, buddy, if you like take on this man. Like, look at you and look at him. Look at all of us. As how many of us? All of us that thought the same way, of course. All of us. Look at us. We couldn't defeat the giant. All of us together. Not one of us would be able to stand. And here you, the smallest and the weakest looking of all, are going to take it. And they asked him to stop. And David was relentless because David could see the victory in his mind. And David understood that there was a way to defeat the giant that none of the other ones had thought of. And his way was crazy because since they never thought of it, obviously it had to be wrong. But for David, he was completely convicted in the fact that he could. I can do this. This was because David had defeated other giants like this in the past, in a different form, in a different way. You have been a victor in many different areas in your life. I have kicked ass, my friends, in some real serious things, and I have done some fantastic, extraordinary things. And why is it when I stand before a giant, we do what all the other people in the army did, look at our weaknesses against their strength? Instead, what David did was looked at his strengths instead of his weaknesses against the giant. He started to recall to his brothers all the things that he had done that would prove to them that he was the man for the job. There was a cooking show that I was watching. It was called Wild Card Kitchen, and I love that because it's poker and cooking together. That part is kind of fun, but it puts a little bit of an edge on it. And there was one of chefs that were on, and there was this round where he had just the most terrible hand that was dealt him in regards to the challenge of cooking. And he said something there that reminded me of the David and reminded me of the situation that I had with my mural and all of the trials and tribulations that I went with self-publishing my cursive writing curriculum. Was that he looked at the cards and he goes, you know what? No matter what, I can bet on myself. I bet on myself that I can do it. And that's what David did here. He decided to go into an area where it was his strength. That's why when they tried to put their stuff on him, the stuff that made them feel powerful, the stuff that made them strong, their armor per se, whatever the armor would be, is obviously not David's armor because David was too small and it made him look like a little kid in his dad's clothing. It was ridiculous, but all that did was reinforce to the other people David's weakness. And all they did was get louder and louder and louder. Maybe like some of the people in your life, and I got a fuck ton of people in my life that are very loud about and reminding me of my chaotic choices in life. But David picked up 5 smooth stones. And can you imagine if you saw this live? Watching this, that you would see all of these men just losing their minds. And David's brothers, just like they're crying, they're angry at him, they're trying to stop him. All of these things to just like, what the fuck are you doing, man? 5 smooth stones? What could you do? Despite all that noise, David places, I guess, the best stone, the one he felt would be the zinger, into the slingshot. And then guess who offended it the most was the giant. He was just, how could this small man, who do you think you are? Why do you think you could do anything? I can, like, and he just looked at the people and he was like, this is your best representative? This is who you've got? He has nothing. He has nothing like me. He has nothing that I would consider great in strength. But what he failed to realize was that David had context and David had courage. And those two things together are behind the word can. And I think this is a very important topic so that you can at least find your context in your courage. My son, it's interesting on some of the teachers that will come into your life. And one of my greatest teachers is my youngest son. He really stretched me as an individual. Good and I earned my bitch status through him anyway, good and bad. And one of the things that he had taught me was there was a situation that he was dealing with at work, and he follows this motto. He follows this motto. His name is Morgan, and he goes, "That's a future Morgan problem." And that is another way of flipping that I bet on myself, because if you looked at David when he first started his shepherding, when you look at him when he first got his moment, well, I could do that, or I want to learn how to do that, or that's going to be kind of interesting. There was no way that he became an expert at that exact moment. If you would have talked to me 30 years ago about being able to do that artwork or to do the cursive writing book, I could tell you right now that that would have never happened, because I needed all the experiences of all the odd ass, weird ass jobs to make me a jacks of all trades. That all of that experience, all those little victories, all those little skills I picked up when the time came for the right moment. If I would have just believed in myself and bet on myself then, do you imagine where I would be now? And would be any wish for you is to just give yourself that little pat. Maybe stack up your victories. What I have done, there's a little practice that I practice every day, and maybe you would like to take practice this too, and this will help you develop the cans in your life. When you have a small victory, even the smallest thing that you get green lights all the way to where you're going, or you have something lucky happen. I was taught by a really fantastic lady. Her name is Brenda Johnston, and she helped me realize that if you want to ask for something and manifest something, it needs to have something that the subconscious mind can accept. And one of the things it says is that we can use the "I'm the type of person" for the positive, because I'm sure you say, "I'm the type of person that it always happens this way to me," or "I'm just that type of person," or stuff that degrades us. And if you continuously tell yourself that way, it's a way of self hypnosis that you become that person. So, say for instance, I play a game online and I have a victory, and I'm like, you know what? I'm the type of person that can accomplish goals when I set them. And it's a small little victory, but why am I afraid of celebrating that small little victory? I have one of my "I'm a type of person" I'm saying right now is that I'm the type of person that accomplish my goals, and I can accomplish them ahead of time and in a proper prosperous state, because I've done that and I kicked ass and I had a goal in mind and I accomplished it. I tell myself those little affirmations. I am the type of person. And what happens in your small little world that goes right for you? I am the type of person that people say good things to. I am the type of person that is lucky. I am the type of person that finds money on the street. I am the type of person that gets noticed. I am the type of person, anything that happens, anything that you feel good in the moment, and then remind yourself that you are that type of person. Rome wasn't built in a day, and especially if you have situations like myself where you really have giants in your life, and it's taken a little bit of time for you to realize that one small stone can knock the shit out of it. It's taken it's taken some time out in the wilderness, I guess, to be able to understand that it really is all about the mind and what to hit it with, and how much power just looking at something differently and betting on yourself. I take that into account now when something I look at this now, it's like that's a future Jack's problem, because you know what? The Jacks of the future that's going to deal with the problem is going to have more resources, more knowledge, more experience, more things worked out, more areas of her life under control, more awareness, more everything. It'd just be more. And then when that problem faces that future Jax, then she'll have whatever happens between now and then to help her then. Because I can bet on myself, because oh my God. Um I I am definitely a survivor, and I have started over quite a few times and from nothing. And I appreciate the fact that I'm able to do that. But I really would like some happy chaos. I would really love some happy chaos. And if I was going to have one goal in life, is that if my chaos is to happen, I would like it to feel really fucking good because I am, yeah, I'm a chaos queen of the past. That is sure. Let's recap, shall we? We kicked off things in episode 1 with the first little 3-letter word, and that was H-U-H, where that split-second moment where change begins, that moment of curiosity, that break through the clouds. And now, with episode 2, we dove into the next 3-letter word of can, that raw power of backing yourself and betting on yourself against all odds, even when no one else does. David didn't beat Goliath by playing by the rules, and neither will you. He created his own rules. The real flex wasn't size, it was his strategy. It was his ability to look at things from a different perspective and base his decision on his strengths. Next episode, we hit the final, the most brutal of the 3-letter words. This sucker either launches you forward or it chains you to the past. And you know what? Most of you are going to think it's God or ego, but it's not. So buckle up, babe. We're about to go on a ride. Well, that wraps up our episode, and I want to thank you for listening. If you want to get in contact with me, you can either DM me on Instagram or you can send me an email on Gmail. And you know how I feel about Gmail. It's my can and my can't, so we're just going to let that go. If you want to check out what other crazy creative stuff I'm up to, go check out my website at crackthecursivecode.com. You're going to find all my kick-ass cursive writing stuff there. There's even stuff for left-handed people. You'll also find out about my loser and my forthwith merch. Hope you have an awesome sauce day. Jax out.